Hey, hello, and welcome to the stream. It is I, your armored VTuber Ryu Shinden. Silent Man by day, armored VTuber, and armored fighter by night, or whenever my work schedules allow me. And welcome to yet another stream. And first of all, I'm sorry. I want to preface this first by deeply apologizing about last time, yesterday. It was very scuffed yesterday in terms of my internet connection, and I had no choice but to actually just um, end the stream completely in the meantime while I have my stuff fixed. We are good now. We are good. So yeah, and hopefully we can complete the whole stream with no problems at all. But anyway, hello. All right, how are you guys? And hello, Diane. Welcome to the stream. Hello. Thank you for stopping by here, chilling. So, how's your day? How's your week? How's your couple of weeks? How's your month? Hope everything is okay. Everything is good. And welcome to yet another stream that we're gonna be doing some things today. This is basically, this is basically just a continuation, pretty much, of what we have talked about last time, which is dungeon mastering. We're basically going through the particulars of how to be a dungeon master, particularly what do you actually do as a dungeon master anyway. So we're gonna be talking about that later. And anyway, first off, I'm gonna be doing some shout outs here. Thank you so much, Billy the Bob. Thank you so much for following, and I hope you're here. And if not, that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine for me. So, how are you guys? Tell me your day. Tell me how your day has been, or not. That's right. That's okay. That's okay as well. So yeah, again, I do apologize about last time. My internet connection was like really shitty. Everything is Junbi okay. Hi, yokatta na. Yokatta. Yokatta desu ne. Everything is daijoubu. Everything is daijoubu. If only I can actually speak like straight up Japanese. Now, I do know a little bit of Japanese. I do know a little bit, but not in enough to be in a normal conversation. Even in like basic conversation, I do know some, and I hope I actually will be able to like learn and speak more in a more conversational way for Japanese, because I would love to actually have like a completely Japanese stream. I'll just speak in Nihongo for the whole stream, kind of like that. I would actually love to do that if you know I'll be able to speak Japanese in a more conversational way. So for anyone watching, if you have like any teaching knowledge or teaching experience with languages such as Japanese, I would love to actually learn. So just give me one moment while I just adjust some things. Anyway, so yeah, we're gonna be talking a lot about DMing today, uh, but I'm gonna be only for like I'm gonna be on for like around 3 hours or so. But we're gonna be talking a lot. We're gonna be talking a lot today about DMing. And if you missed the first part, there is a first part on this. This is basically a continuation of what we're discussing about last time. But if you missed it, I did actually upload the VOD on YouTube. It should be already uploaded there, so you can watch it again if you missed it. And we're gonna be picking up on that basically today. Now, here's the thing though. I actually wanted to play a game today. I actually wanted to play a game today, but as I mentioned earlier, I'm gonna be streaming for like a couple of hours, like 3 hours or so, because I'm gonna need to do something later. But maybe next stream, hopefully by tomorrow, we'll be able to play some games. Because good thing, I actually wanted to share something. Uh, I'm happy that finally my controller is actually working. So I will be able to actually play some games that uses a controller. Because the things the games that I actually wanted to play on stream, most of them are best played with controllers. The thing is, I can play them without a controller. I can play them with like a mouse and keyboard. But I will. They are games that are particularly designed around controllers, and controllers are highly recommended to play those games that I wanted to play on stream. So that's why I'm very very happy that I got my controllers working. Now, here's the sad part though. There's actually two sides to this. There's the good part and the bad part. The bad news is, I am very, very stupid. Like, incredibly stupid. Um, because here's what happened, right? So I have this PS3 controller, like an actual PS3 controller that I have lying somewhere in the house. Apparently, it's from my brother-in-law. Uh, Now they had to move houses in the meantime because they had just had a baby. One of the things that they left in the room that I am occupying right now, which is used to be their room, is a PS3 controller, right? So, uh, basically, the controller is actually working. It's still in working condition, or at least when I found it, it's still in working condition. Now, what happened is I thought that there might be some way to actually use a PC controller on PC, which it does. It is possible to use a PS3 controller on PC to play some games. So I found a way. I found a couple of ways to do it. I installed some apps and programs to basically have the my PC or my laptop recognize the controller as a normal controller. It's a PS3 controller, but I needed my PC to recognize it as a normal controller that you can literally use. So I found some ways online. I did what you call it? I did install some programs, and everything worked fine. Everything worked great. Everything worked great until after the last couple of weeks, it started not charging. And this is a very complicated situation. Let me tell you, this is a very long-winded, complicated situation that ends with me realizing that I am actually really stupid. So I got it to work. I got it working on my laptop until a couple of weeks ago, where it didn't have any batteries. The batteries just went dead. So I thought, okay, it's not. I time to charge it up this thing because it's been a while actually since I charged the thing. charge the PS3 controller, it actually went on for like a week or so without charging. So I thought that okay, I just needed to charge this. So I tried charging it, and it's not charging. The what you call it? The LEDs are not blinking for some reason whenever you're charging it, because it was charging before, but it's not now. So I was like, okay, not charging. Maybe the cable's loose. So I opened I reattached it, I reconnected it. It's still not working. So the next step is to actually open the damn thing, because the PS3 controller has the battery inside, basically. So I had to actually literally open up the controller, uh, and check the batteries inside. And the batteries, luckily, is not attached directly to the circuit board. It's not soldered, rather. So I just need to actually like pull it out and plug it back in the controller, put everything together, and try charging it again. Doesn't work. Still not working. So I thought that maybe I'll just go ahead and buy a new cord. Maybe the cord itself is not working, so that's why. So I bought a new USB cord specifically for the PS3, because the PS3 uh has this like unique plug that goes on it, and I need a specific type of USB. It's a USB Type B, I think, or Type C. I don't know. It's like the fat one. Definitely not Type C, I think. Definitely not Type C. So, but anyway, I bought this wire, new wire. I bought it. I purchased it online. Came to my home after 2 days. Tried the wire. Still doesn't work. Still does not charge for some reason. So I was kind of frustrated now, because I really wanted to play these games that I wanted to play. So I thought it was like, it's not the wire. So my conclusion is the whole controller itself is just like done. It's already dead. There's nothing I can do about it. So I figured I'm just gonna go ahead and buy a PS3 controller online, just a whole ass controller online that I can try using instead. Now here's another problem though. The program that I was using, it doesn't really have any instructions on how to use a new controller for the program. And best of all, it literally took over the Bluetooth dongle on my laptop, and it's not letting me use any other devices except that controller. So I got all of these like problems. So my best solution that I came up with is to buy a new controller, which is not really expensive, but still costs money. So the new controller arrived. Uh, there's some things that I did something wrong with um getting a new version of the program that I'm using. Uh, so I also had to fix that, because I wanted to use my Bluetooth dongle again for my laptop here, so I can use other things for it. Um, so I downloaded this new program and installed everything. Everything is good. Everything I followed the exact instructions to the T. So I got it working. I got the programs installed. Now, when I try to put to have the new controller plugged in through Bluetooth, it doesn't recognize it at all. And this is the part where I felt dumb. No, this is actually not that part. So because what happened first is as I checked everything on the website where I downloaded the program from to make the PS3 working to my PC, I found out that not every there are like off the market PS3 controllers out there that are literally imitations, and the problem with the program that I'm using is it is not guaranteed that it will actually work on those types of controllers that are off-brand PS3 controllers, not the official ones. Apparently, they programmed the thing to only work with actual PS3 controllers, the legit ones, which I had, that was broken. Or so I thought, and I'm gonna tell you later. So, I got this controller, I bought this controller that is not working. That is not working. Brand new, not working. And hey, hello, hello, Static. Hello, welcome to the stream. But anyway, going back, I got this controller that I bought online, brand new, that is not working because apparently it's fake. Apparently, no, well, not that it's fake. It's basically like an imitation. It's basically like an imitation. It's not an official, apparently not an official PS3 controller. It will work on a PS3, but not in this program that I'm using for my PC to actually make it work for my PC. So I was kind of bamboozled by it, and it's too late to return it because again, I'm dumb, and I thought that the controller that I was using before is not working because I found out as soon as I tried. I thought I was like, okay, let me put in the original controller that I was using earlier. So that's and let me see. Let me put it on my PC because that's apparently the only thing that I wasn't able to do, that I didn't do during the time that I thought that it was broken. I didn't plug it to my computer through the USB. And lo and behold, it actually works. The original one that I thought that was broken, and the whole reason why I bought a new controller, and I spent like good money with a new controller, but apparently I cannot use it. And now the original controller is working after all. So I felt incredibly dumb to actually I purchased a brand new controller when my old controller was actually working fine. It's just a matter of not using a charger, not using a cell phone charger to actually charge my PS3 controller. If I wanted to charge it, I would need to actually plug it to my laptop or get the official charging port, the charging dock for PS3, which I swear I saw with my friend. Uh, so yeah, I am dumb. So lesson learned. Um, don't buy things online. Just make sure that whatever you have is still working. Is still you can still fix it. Triple check everything and make sure that whatever you're using is still working or not. Indeed. So yeah, that's it. That's the point that I thought that I'm just incredibly dumb, incredibly stupid. Hey, well, anyway, I already bought it, so I don't know what to do with it. I'll just go back to my old controller. But again, hey, good news is it is working. So as I mentioned earlier, I will be playing games with it, with games that are designed with controllers. And maybe I'll play them on stream. Maybe. So anyway, hello, Statics. Welcome to the stream. You were not streaming today, huh? I noticed. So couldn't be couldn't be ours to open OBS. That's literally the only reason why. You have those times. You have those times. You know, I had those times as well where I was like, I'm not gonna stream today. I'm not gonna stream. I'm not gonna stream today. There are those times, and that's the thing. You don't really have to push yourself. You don't have to force yourself to stream if you don't want to. You know. Hey, one follower away to the magic system. I go. Wow, nice. You have more followers than me. You know that? It took me a while to actually get to this number, 67. You have way more followers than me, believe me. And the rate that you're getting followers, and the rate that you're getting followers compared to mine is way faster. You only have like started streaming like very recently, and I have been streaming since last year. Since last year, last September. I've been at this for a month. Yes. You have been at this for a month and you already have like, I don't know, 60 plus followers. Now this 60 plus followers that I have, it took me like since September. It took me like since September before I got this amount of followers. And I'm pretty sure not all of them actually even watches my streams or are able to. Mate, I'm kind of mad I can't affiliate yet, not gonna lie. Why? Like requirements? Don't you have like requirements? I got everything I need, I just don't have a government ID. Internal government ID? Oh, you're not working, so you cannot get an SSS one. And you cannot get a TIN ID or a tax ID because, yeah, your boy just turned 18 3 months ago. Well, happy birthday. You're not even in a legal age. You're not even technically in a legal age. Technically, you should be 21. I got like nothing sorted. As far as government IDs, you can only probably get like a national ID. But the thing is, I got my TIN. Well, TIN really depends. The TIN one, it really depends. Some places don't consider TIN as a government ID. Some do. I can get a passport, but that costs money. Yeah, true. And postal ID, you know what happened to the postal office? You know, the National Post Office. It got burnt, so yeah, you won't be getting any postal IDs as soon as, yeah. Postal ID, that's no shot because what happened with the National Post Office got burnt down. So that is not an option as well. You can get a national ID though, but that would take a while. Mine took like 6 months, 6 7 months before I got it. Took a while. I just got mine recently, and I applied in like January. Was it January or February? The passport is my bet right now, but that cost a little bit more money. Yeah. Now, here's a weird thing though. I don't have a passport. I have like lots of IDs, but the only thing that I don't have is passport. Because I can't be ours. I can't be ours to get a passport, and I don't know. I feel like getting a passport is something that I would probably get if I have any like reason to actually go out of the country, or any like motivation to go out of the country, which I do, but I don't have any reason right now to go out of the country. And I think the only time that I will get a passport is if I'm about to actually take off out of the country for any reason. But yeah, you can get affiliate. You can get affiliate if you want. You actually have like higher average viewers than mine, so you get it. So again, congratulations. You actually have more followers than me, and the rate that you're getting followers is way faster than me, and you deserve so. You deserve it. You're a very entertaining streamer, actually. You're a very entertaining streamer. You talk a lot, and that's actually something that you really need. And going back to streaming, you don't really have to force yourself streaming if you don't want to, and that's what I've been saying. As also last time, uh, that's what I've been saying also last time. That especially for me, I am not, I am still not in that point where I uh I would have a consistent schedule. I am not in that point. Like, I am not in that. I don't have that large of an audience, to berate me and say, "Why are you not streaming this time?" Blah blah blah. you know. So I just stream whenever I want. And I quickly realized that I don't really have to keep a consistent stream schedule, at least in the meantime, because my audience isn't that large enough, or at least for me, it isn't that large enough for me to actually, commit to a schedule. Capture the SMC niche, baby. Yeah. I don't think I'm entertaining. I think I'm just lucky. No, you are entertaining. You're entertaining. Schedules and orders down. Let chaos reign. Yeah. If I were to have like a bigger audience, maybe, just maybe, I will keep on like a schedule or something. But right now, I don't really see any motivation to keep a schedule. I just pop in whenever I wanted to pop in. I just stream whenever I wanted to stream, especially uh, if I don't feel 100%. Because again, if I wanted to stream, if I were to stream, I wanted to be 100%, like physically, mentally. I don't want to force myself to stream, especially because I think a lot of like, I think and this is a hot take. This is just a hot take. Maybe a very shitty, uninformed take, which I always do. This is a very hot take, but I think there are a lot of people that are saying that if you want to be a successful streamer, you have to have a consistent schedule so that your audience would expect you to be on this time. Blah 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 blah. But truth of the matter is, uh, streaming is quite different from, let's say, like television, you know, or even movies. Streaming is like just you being on camera, right? When you think about it. Streaming is something that is quite different, you know. Whether you keep a schedule or not, if people really wanted to follow you and really are genuinely enjoying your content, they would enjoy you no matter what your schedule is, no matter how frequent you stream. And I actually just recently, very recently, discovered that because there are streamers that I actually follow that don't even stream for like 4 to 5 months, and they still get audience. Why? Because they are what they are. Because they just simply because of just simply who they are, basically. Like, consistent schedules is something that it doesn't really even matter if you have like an actual following already. And those people that you follow, they would just tune in no matter what. as long as they can fit it on their own schedule, it's like they're not working or they're not, doing anything else. Uh, they will just watch you whenever they can. Now you can tell people that, hey, I'm gonna be streaming on this particular time later, blah blah blah, so they can, ready up. Now that you can do that, but in terms of like planning out your activities for like this day, for this week and whatnot, especially for someone like me that has a very very erratic schedule when it comes to real life, it doesn't really matter. Schedules, mate. I'm under no delusions of what I do. I play games and say dumb things on the internet, and and for some reason, people want to give me clout for it. And I mean, it's not for some reason. There is a reason for it. Whenever people like follow you and whatnot, and I always believe that, like, put it in a perspective of like an audience. Put yourself in a perspective of an audience that uh, these people watch you for something. You know, it's all a matter of these people watch you for something. There's always something that that makes them watch you continuously. That is why sometimes whenever there's like new people out here and new people that's like chatting on my stream, which doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes it happens. Whenever there's new people on my stream that I'm not familiar of, I ask them direct. I ask them literally, how did you find my stream? how we, how did you come across my stream? Because Twitch actually has a very very poor, very shitty, what you call it, discovery system, like to discover like streams, unlike YouTube, you know, or showcase streams. So I actually literally asked them, where did you actually find me? And I think for you, for your case, Titus, uh, it you don't really have to have like delusions, you know. People watch it because they like you. But anyway, enough of that. We'll actually get right into what we're gonna be talking about today, which is dungeon mastering or game mastering. Particularly, what do you actually do as a game master or a dungeon master for tabletop role playing games such as D&D and whatnot? Um, just like last time, this is like a general broad discussion about not only D&D, but for any tabletop role playing game out there. The things that I'll be sharing are basically like encompassing almost, if not all, tabletop role playing games. Actually, not all, because there are tabletop. Believe me, that there are tabletop role playing games out there that doesn't even have a dungeon master or a game master, or doesn't need to, or have an option at least to run the game without a dungeon master or a game master uh, on your table. So this is like an all encompassing in terms of like systems, tabletop role playing game systems that do not have a that have a dungeon master. Sorry. So that's what I'm gonna be discussing today. And again, if you have like anything that you can share, anything that you can share. I'm sorry, I'm out of words today. Anything that you can share about dungeon mastering, your experiences, and any advices that you can share as well or any insights that you can share, that you can, um, have other people's see, or have me see, you can go ahead and post it in the chat. This is a discussion. Don't let me be the only one rambling here. All right. You can always share your comments, your suggestions, your advices, and even violent reactions. If you wanted to correct me for anything, because I am dumb, uh, you can always correct me. You can also call me stupid and dumb. It's perfectly fine. I like that. I like being called dumb and stupid. Not because I am a masochist, but because that makes me aware of the shit that I say. I have a violent reaction. It's called hellish rebuke. Come to think of it, hellish rebuke is just literally a violent reaction, except it actually hurts you physically. It actually hurts you physically. So anyway, let's go ahead and start. Just give me one moment. Let me just set up. Uh, let's see. Give me one moment. Sorry, I'm just doing this. Just give me one moment. It's a literal violent reaction. Yeah, it's yeah. If you're talking about a violent reaction, it's literal a violent reaction that actually hurts. Okay, just give me a quick moment here. I'm just gonna doing some quick setups here. Properties. Okay. All right. So I'm switching up. And switching up. Just give me one moment here. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and switch. Okay, let me make this a little bit smaller. Put it here. All right. And we're gonna change the music to a more appropriate one. Okay. I think this is good enough for music. Let me lower this down. Okay. And oh, I forgot my DM screen here. All right, here we go. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and start right here. So basically, just give me one moment while I do ready up. I'm doing some readying up for. This will be going on YouTube as a edited video, so I'm gonna be doing my openers and closers. It will be awkward, but just bear with me, okay? Just bear with me. This will be awkward and a little bit of a cringe, or actually lots of cringe. So just bear with me, okay? But this will be in an edited form on YouTube. This will be edited out as an actual YouTube video, so that's why I'm doing these. So just just go along with it, okay? Now, what stupid stuff can I saw halfway through and make it even more cringe? Can I say? Well, you'll be included in a YouTube video, so I guess whatever. Oh, all right. So let's go ahead and start. Okay. So, right, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So last time we basically talked about dungeon mastering and how you actually start being a dungeon master. That is a discussion that we had in one of the previous talks. And if you wanted to actually watch that one, I do have a video out there uploaded. So you can watch that again for the part one of being a dungeon master. Now, this is basically the continuation of it. And this will, today, we will be talking about dungeon mastering, what you actually do. So basically, you already presented yourself as a dungeon master. You already like got through your nerves, got through your anxiety phase, got through the panic of realizing that you just did something that you might be regretting later on. Which I can assure you, there's no regrets on this. This actually is very fun. Being a dungeon master is actually very fun as long as you know what you're doing. That is why I'm here. So you already got your nerves on being presenting yourself as dungeon master for your friends or for this group of people that wanted to play D&D or any other tabletop role playing system out there. So the problem is you don't have any clue on what do you actually do being a dungeon master or a game master in any other game or any tabletop role playing game. So that is what we are gonna be talking about today, as to how to be a dungeon master. What do you actually do as a dungeon master or a game master? Now, don't worry, this discussion is not only for D&D or Dungeons and Dragons. This actually can also apply to any other tabletop role-playing game systems out there, like Chaosium, powered by the Apocalypse, Call of Cthulhu, uh, Dungeon World, Dungeon Adventures, blah blah blah, Pathfinder, all these tabletop role-playing games. As long as that tabletop role-playing game requires a dungeon master, because there are actually tabletop role-playing games out there that doesn't even need a dungeon master or has an option to actually play the game without a dungeon master. So we're gonna be focusing on tabletop role-playing games that needs a dungeon master or a game master to run the game, along with the players. So anyway, what do you actually do as a dungeon master? Because the reason why I just wanted to discuss this first is it is very important that you know what your job is. If you're taking on a job, you gotta have to know what you actually do, just like any other job. But the thing is, don't worry, dungeon mastering is not a job that you have to take. This is a role that you have to play in a tabletop role playing game session. Uh, and although at some aspects it might look like a job, which we'll be actually expounding later, don't you worry, dungeon mastering is actually fun. Believe me, it is actually really, really fun. Uh, so let's dive right into it. So the first thing that you need to do, that you need to know about what you actually do being a dungeon master. And before that, Static says here, you deal with player stupidity. That's what you mostly do. We're gonna be expanding on that later. We're gonna be explaining that later on. So, the first thing that you actually do being a dungeon master, and again, I am no Matt Mercer. I am no Matt Colville. Uh, I am not a master, an expert dungeon master in any sense that has many many years of experience. Now I do have experience. I have been running tabletop role playing games for around 5 years now, so I do have some experience. But I am no expert. All right. So whatever I'm saying here could be bullshit. Whatever I'm saying here could only work for me. Uh, well, anything that I say here are the ones that actually work for me, or and at least my interpretation based on my experiences on being a dungeon master, on how or on what do you actually do being a dungeon master. So don't take anything that I say here uh, as a gospel or what you actually need to do to be the best dungeon master around. Don't take anything and take anything as like the best way to do it. I am just here to share the things that work for me and share my interpretations. And this might not be the interpretation that you will be experiencing, but this is at least the things that I am basing from my experience, right? Bullshit, writer is the greatest. No, this is a holy sermon. I take everything it says. Do not do not read the chat, okay? Do not read the chat. Everything that you say that you see in the chat is not true. And here's the thing though, I created this series, hopefully. I created this Dungeon Mastering 101 series to basically educate those who are just completely new. Like they have no idea what they're doing. They have no idea what to do. They have no idea where to start and whatnot. These are for you. This is not like a dungeon master class. This is for like completely new people for to the tabletop role playing game community. This is me trying to help them, right? So I'm gonna be telling things in a general sense and in a much broader sense. This will be not only for specific systems but for all systems as well, right? Educate those pathetic peasants who have not so much as chance to even compare. I'm gonna ban you, right? Okay, I'm gonna ban you. Okay, so all right, so let's go ahead and start, right? Let's get right into it. So, for me, the very first, not really the very first, and this is in no particular order, okay? This is in no particular order. Uh, I'm just listing down the jobs and responsibilities of being a dungeon master or a game master, and what basically is your role in a tabletop role playing game session, right? Basically, the first one is be the host. So that is the very first thing that I can think of what you actually do being a dungeon master is to be the host. Now, being a host is basically providing accommodations for others. So this is a very very broad term in terms of even being a dungeon master. Being the host means you would have to most of the time, and this is something that is frequent at least before with D&D sessions, tabletop role playing game sessions. Most of the time, it's the dungeon master or the game master that provides, let's say, the place where you'll be playing the sessions. Uh, they also provide the accommodations like a room to play on, the table to play on. If the dungeon master has like a special table made for playing D&D, they would have that. They would also facilitate the whatever the players need in terms of like arriving to the location and whatnot. Now this is during this is on live table sessions, like actual table sessions, actual table plays. Because as you might don't know, tabletop role playing games are being played on an actual table. That's why they call tabletop. Right? That's why they call tabletop role playing games, because they used to be played on the table, right? So most of the time, now this is not every time, and this is not like a law for the DM to do for DM to do. Uh, Most of the time, it's the DMs that provide like the location where the players are playing on, or the house, or the room, and whatnot. And besides being the host, well, because you are the host of the game, you will be providing accommodations as well, like chairs to sit on, the tables to play on, even sometimes to the dice to play on, and some other things to play on, like mats and whatnot. So it's the DM that provides those. Now, nowadays, that's not the case. Sometimes there are groups that a player would provide like the location and the accommodation. One of the players would present to be the host, or sometimes it actually varies each session. Like one player would be the host, and then another player would be the host next week, and another player would be the host next week. Like it really varies on the group. Uh, but before, it's mostly the DM that does that, and this is totally by your choice. If you're gonna be a dungeon master, this is totally by choice. All right, you don't have to do this, but this is one of the things that the DM does. Because we're gonna be discussing another point later that kind of relates to this. We're gonna get into that later. Now, nowadays, since virtual tabletop role playing websites or apps are prolific, because a lot of people are now playing Dungeons and Dragons online through the internet. Sometimes it's the DM that is hosting, in terms of providing the website where the people with their players would play on. A big example would be Foundry VTT. It's a virtual tabletop website and app where it needs you basically to set up a server for your players to connect on, and uh, for 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 you to host the server. So you're basically being the host as well, even though it's online and it's not in an actual table. There are also websites out there like the one I use, Tableplop, wherein you as the DM would create a campaign itself through the website, so you have full control of everything as a dungeon master, and your players will be joining in that on that campaign. So basically, again, you are hosting the game. So you're basically facilitating the game in terms of like how you would play it, the venue that you would play it, and such. So that's why you are the host. And yeah, Static, go ahead and eat. Enjoy your meal. And I haven't even ate actually, so I'm gonna do that later. But anyway, that's the first point. Now the second one is write the campaign, or choose the campaign, and present the campaign to your players. Okay. Now, in regards to this, okay, so for those of you who are completely new to tabletop role playing games, a campaign is basically the adventure. Most of the time we call it campaigns, but sometimes we call it adventures. Sometimes we call it modules, depending. Sometimes there are pre-written modules and or modules that are homebrewed. Uh, but we mostly call them campaigns, but basically they're adventures. So anyway, as the dungeon master or the game master, sometimes you write the campaign, and sometimes you choose a pre-written campaign that you and your players are interested to play in. Because there are two types of campaigns. There's the homebrew campaign or homebrew adventures, and there's pre-written adventures. Homebrew adventures are basically adventures that you write yourself as a DM, that your players will be playing on. And pre-written adventures, as the name implies, it's pre-written. Somebody else written the adventure through, let's say, a book or a module or whatnot. And you, as a dungeon master, will be running that pre-written adventure. Now, that pre-written adventure have everything that you need as a dungeon master to run the game, like NPCs, locations, maps, um, adventure information like the story itself, the creatures you'll be running or your players will be coming across and whatnot. Everything is already pre-written for you, and all you need to do is just run the campaign to your players or play the campaign with your players. Now, whether you write the campaign yourself or choose a campaign, a pre-written campaign, it's also your job to present the campaign to your players, because sometimes you'll be coming across like multiple options for campaigns or multiple campaigns that you write yourself. um, you can actually present these to your players and basically do a pitch for them. Pitch to them. Pitch your campaign to your players. Now, basically present what the campaigns are about, like the expectations for the campaign once you play it, the themes of the campaign, and basically have your players like choose what entices them the most. So, for example, you presented a horror themed campaign where it's centered around monsters and supernatural beings and vampires and werewolves. Uh, and you presented it as like a gothic adventure where uh, investigation into the supernatural has more emphasis than combat. And the second campaign that you written or you came across is like this sword and sorcery campaign adventure with like elements from Conan the Barbarian, where magic is considered godly and only a few people can perform, and most of the people in this world are determining their destinies through sword and shield and bow and axes and weapons that hurt people non-magically. So and you have also this adventure which is purely on oriental, that is about uh, people with the ability to control their life energy to do these martial arts feats that that is based on wuxia or Chinese period drama and Chinese Beijing opera and whatnot, like references to Chinese mythology. So if you have like multiple campaigns with different flavors and different themes and different motives and different like approaches to like role playing and whatnot, and the kind of gameplay it has, uh, you present them to your players and have them choose what campaign would you like to play. It's kind of like a video game, you know. You're playing with you wanted to play with your friends, and you present your friends with these different video game titles. Also, you like Counter Strike. Would you like us to play Overwatch, or would you like us to play like Valorant or whatnot? It's kind of like that. So basically, it's that. Now, again, you don't have to write the campaign for yourself. You can actually choose the campaign that you can run, that you are interested to run with your players. It's just a matter of you presenting them to your players as well. So, the third one is scheduling. The dreaded job of scheduling the sessions. And this is something that is a plague of many game groups, is scheduling the sessions. This has destroyed many campaigns. Scheduling, the strongest the strongest foe that you can face in any tabletop role playing game sessions or campaigns is schedules. Lining up, making sure that your schedules are lining up. This is the bane of DM's existence. Uh, Figuring out a time and day every week where everyone is free, because you cannot control your players and their real lives. They have things to do in their real lives, and the thing that you need to solve as a dungeon master is to making sure that everyone agrees on the same time and same day to play D&D every week. Uh, so this is your job as well as the dungeon master, is to schedule the sessions and determining the schedules for the sessions. Most of the time, you would rely heavily on your players' outputs or players' preferences when it comes to the time and day that you wanted to play D&D every week. But basically, you as a dungeon master would um, facilitate this for your players. Now, as a dungeon master, you don't have to be the final say when it comes to like the schedules, but pretty much your players more often than not will look up to you to for guidance and on what time and day you should be playing D&D. Uh, but you as a dungeon master, you basically need to make sure that everyone agrees on the same time and day as they're playing D&D, right? So that's one of your jobs. The next up is preparing the campaign and the sessions, right? Okay, so sessions, when we say sessions, it's basically like every game session, right? For those of you who don't know, so preparing a campaign and session is one of the things that you also need to do as a dungeon master. So you have to prepare the campaign. So basically, you have to prepare the writing the NPCs, preparing the maps that you will use, preparing the adventure you will use, preparing the even the character sheets for your players if you wanted to have them, have them lighting the load in terms of like what they wanted to do for their like playing their character. You can also prepare their character sheets as well for them. But basically, most of the focus that you have is the campaign itself, is preparing the campaign and the sessions. This one we'll actually talk about it in a separate discussion, how to prepare for your campaigns, or at least my way of preparing for sessions. But basically, this is also one of your jobs because you'll be running the sessions as well. You'll be the one presenting the world to your players, presenting the NPCs, and role playing them, preparing the situation, sending them into situations. So you would need to prepare on those. I know that there are some DMs out there that do not prep and rely heavily on improv, which is okay, good for you. That is very good. That is impressive that you're able to run your sessions without any preparation, just improv, flying the seat of your pants, I would think. But for me, and for many DMs and GMs out there, preparing your campaign and sessions is very, very crucial. Very, very helpful for you as a DM in the long run, because not everything you can improv. Believe me, not everything. No matter how good you are with improvisation, not everything you can improv. And we're gonna be tackling on that more on a separate discussion. Okay. So next up is address issues before, during, and after sessions. Okay. All right. So when it comes to issues, this is like a broad term that I'm using when it comes to the word issue, especially for tabletop role playing game sessions. We're talking about like issues with tech, issues with the rules, issues with players, issues with their characters, issues with like the ones that we have above, like with the campaign itself, or the sessions, or the scheduling, and whatnot, or even like how players interact with each other, or how they play with games with each other. We also need to address those and find a solution for those as a dungeon master. And this is also in part of being the host as well. You know, being the host means that you are keen on resolving issues, resolving problems, being the host. So, and we do this before, during, and after sessions. So it's not only during after sessions, it's not only after sessions, it's not only before sessions. It should be before, during, and after sessions. We need to have like full coverage to facilitate and solve those issues as much as we can at any time. The next up is adjudicate and implement the rules but work with your players as well in regards to rules. Okay, so with this one, and this is I think most people would be familiar of when it comes to dungeon mastering or game mastering. I think this is the thing that are the most people would be familiar of what DMs or GMs actually does is to adjudicate and implement the rules. As a dungeon master, and let me preface this first, okay? Let me do a disclaimer first. As a dungeon master, you don't have to, and I think this is something that we also discussed way or did the discussion earlier on the previous one. Um, as a dungeon master, you don't have to memorize each and every rule on the book. You don't have to memorize them. You just have to get an understanding on how the rules work, basically. Uh, Now, once you have that like ability, you'll be able to adjudicate and implement the rules easier because you now have the general idea of how this rule works. All right. So as a dungeon master, you are actually responsible for making sure that the rules are followed when it comes to either the game rules or rules at the table or even rules outside of the table. Um, you are the ones who will you will make sure that they are followed as best as you can interpret from the books. And if not, you are also responsible of making interpretations about the rules that make sense to you and your players. Because sometimes, rules as written doesn't make sense. The rules as they are written in the books, sometimes they're confusing or it doesn't make sense with the situation. Um, So that's why sometimes you actually also have to create rules on the fly. Now, in my case, in my homebrew games, I actually implement homebrew rules that are not in the book. I also do that as a DM. And you can also do that as a DM as well. If you're running a homebrew game and you feel that the system that you're currently using lacking with rules that are addressing specific situations, as a dungeon master or a game master, you can also make some rules on the fly or make up some rules to address issues that the books have in terms of like the rules on certain situations. So you can actually also do that as a DM. And as a matter of fact, in some tables, it's the DM say that is final when it comes to like rules. Now, that doesn't mean that you are God and what you're saying is gospel. Basically, what you need to do is to work with your players as well in regards to rules. There are some times that your players would disagree on how you called this particular rule. So that is why it is also your job to talk with your players, to tell them that I interpreted this rules this way because this is how I interpreted rules as written, and maybe your what you call it, your player would tell you otherwise that they interpreted the rules differently from how you interpreted it. So you have already like this back and forth, this discussion of does this rule does this or does this rule does what I think it did, what I think it does. So you also have to work with your players in terms of the rules. There are some times that the DM say is the final say whenever it comes to the table. There are certain tables that have that particular rule where you cannot argue with the DM. The DM always had the final say or the final ruling, basically. But in some tables and also in my games, the rules are basically flexible. It's so flexible that I can literally compromise with my players. Okay, let's do it this way instead. Okay, so I know where you're coming from, so let's do it this way. So it still has like a part of interpretation of a part of what I interpreted the rules at does, and your interpretation of how what the rules does is also indicated included in that new ruling as well. Or if you cannot really just decide, you can just go ahead and roll some dice and see who's highest, and then whatever they say wins. So you as a dungeon master also has like the ability or like the responsibility of doing that, implementing the rules, adjudicating it, and also talking with your players on how you implement the rules. So next up is describe scenes, situations, and characters. Maybe describe scenes, situations, information, and characters. All right. So I think this is also something that will be familiar for the even for those who haven't played D&D or any tabletop role playing games. This is your this is also one of your things that you will do as a dungeon master is to describe the scene, describe the situations, describe the information, and describe the characters that your players are interacting with. So basically, for characters, you role play the characters. You describe their demeanor, how they speak, what they look like, how they act, what they say. Basically, you're role playing the while your players are role playing their characters. You are role playing everyone else. Basically, um, you also have to have you also have to describe scenes for your characters, where their location is, what the location looks like, where is it on the map, uh, What are the things that they see? What are the things that they smell or taste or feel? So you also describing that to your characters, to your players as well. Situations, you can describe situations where you describe, let's say, a combat situation where, in terms of like where the enemies are located at and where your players are located at. Are they too far? Are they quite near? Are they on melee? Are they on melee range or in a long range situation? Are there any traps? Are there any hazards on the map or in the location that they are in? Especially when dungeon crawling, was there a trap springed, or was there like an hazard activated, or was there another a monster popped out? What does the monster look like? How does it act? Blah blah blah. So that's in terms of like situations. Information about anything that they're asking for. Like, let's say they wanted to search for something, and they succeeded on searching anything. You describe to them what they found. What does it look like? What it is for sometimes, or maybe not. Let them, you know, discover what the item does. So you're basically also um, describing then information in terms of whether they succeeded or not in with their particular skill check or task that they're trying to do. So that is also something that you do as a dungeon master. Next up is immerse your players. Now this is also a broad term because there are many ways that you can immerse your players, whether it's how you role play your characters through voices, or accents and whatnot. um, you also immerse them in terms of like putting out the map and either drawing or pulling out miniatures to represent where your characters are versus where their targets are. Um, where are they in that particular location in terms of like on the map itself. You can also immerse them through background music, like what we're doing right now. You can immerse them by playing background music or playing sound effects. Let's say they're about to face like an owl bear. You can have them hear an owl bear screech, something like that. Anything that you immerse your players further into the adventure, and encourage them to role play more because of the immersion. That's also your job as a dungeon master. Now, don't you worry, you don't have to have like any miniatures or any actual maps and whatnot. Just as long as you're promoting immersion to your players, immerse them further into the story, you know, by even just the way that you tell them through the theater of mind, we call it. Uh, you will do that as a dungeon master. It's also kind of connected with the description of scenes, situations, information, and characters. It also kind of relates to that. Now, next up is answer questions. Answer questions. Now, this is in terms of like whether they're asking your players are asking questions on the table during the game, or they're asking some information before a session on what happened so far, or answering questions after the game uh, about what they confuse up with a particular ruling or rule set or whatnot, how to play the game and whatnot. You as a dungeon master should be able to answer questions for them. Because again, going back to the first one, you are the host, so you facilitate your players, answer the questions as best as you can. Um, for being a dungeon master, again, you don't have to have answers to every question, but it is important that that to learn to be able to answer particular questions in terms of like how the game works, uh, as a dungeon master, because more often than not, your players would rely on you for information. Now, this would not only in terms of like the rules. This is probably in terms of like characters and character options, how to create the characters, and how to like use their characters, or it could be also during the game. For example, through skill checks, most of the time your players would ask you as the dungeon master if they can do this or they can do that while in the game. If their player can do this, their player can do that. uh, they would ask you if they would need to do a dice roll to determine if they will be successful or not, uh, in terms of like whatever they're trying to do, and so on and so forth. So basically, you'll be answering a lot of questions as a dungeon master most of the time. Quick question regarding to immersing your players. How do you do that? I listed several things earlier in terms of like immersing your players. It could be as simple as descriptions, describing where your players are, what they are doing, what do they see, what do they hear, they smell, their tasting. Um, it could be as simple as that. Descriptions, um, very colorful, descriptive descriptions that are easy to understand, for your players to be able to like visualize their characters in. Um, it could be also through other means like playing background music, um, or playing sound effects on certain situations and certain moments. It can also be as in terms of like role playing the NPCs and how they speak, how they act, the dialogue, the dialogue that they say, how they interact with your players and whatnot as well. Um, Sometimes it's through items like for example, in Critical Role there's this one point where they use potions, air quotes. um, and the way that they're using potions is they have this bottle with red color, a red colored bottle, and what they do is inside that bottle is a pair of dice. Now that pair of dice, the kind of dice that is inside the bottle depends on how strong the healing potions are. So, for example, they're using, let's say, a small healing sorry, a regular healing potion. The dice inside the bottle would be a d6 because you need to roll a 1d6 plus your constitution modifier to heal yourself using a potion. So something like that. You can also use like actual tangible objects to immerse your players. There are lots of ways to actually immerse your players. But the basic idea about it is again immersing your players and putting them in the mindset of the characters themselves. Now going back to the answer questions, as I mentioned earlier, being a dungeon master, you have to answer a lot of questions. But that doesn't mean you don't get to like answer questions yourself as well. Uh, Post questions as a DM as well, because that's what we are going to list down next. Ask questions to your players. So In terms of like asking questions to your players, again, there's a lots of questions that you need to ask to your players as a dungeon master, particularly what their characters are doing, or what are they going to do, or what their characters are planning. Um, you have to ask your players questions so that you as a DM will be able to respond accordingly, or make a reaction accordingly, or have your NPCs or even your monsters and creatures to act accordingly depending on the player's actions. Because there are some times that you will have players that are not very keen on taking initiative or taking the first step. There are some players that would you would have to ask questions about what they're doing before you'll be able to do anything as a dungeon master. Uh, that happens, so that's why it is also important if you as a DM would be able to answer to ask questions to your players as well. And this is what you will do a lot of times. Sometimes it's also clarifications on what your character is trying to do, because sometimes uh, dungeon masters are not perfect. They can also get confused. Some things are lost in translation or in communication and whatnot. You have to make sure to ask questions to your players to ensure that what you understood what they are trying to do. All right. You can also ask questions about your players in terms of like feedback. After a session or after a campaign, ask them questions about how did the sessions go. Do you have any rules that you would like me to change, or do you have any new rules that you like me to implement, or is there any issues with like how I run the game, or how or any one of your players, do you have a problem with them? uh, Basically, you also have to have the ability to ask questions to your players in terms of like feedback as well. uh, Next up is play with your players, not against them. Let me take a sip of water here. Okay, so now this one, it's very very important because I think this is something that some dungeon masters are missing, is the fact that you as a dungeon master, you are not a god. You are also a player on the table, and you also play with your players on your table and not against them. Because unfortunately, for those of you who don't know, there are some dungeon masters out there that the way that they run D&D, the way that they run D&D is something akin to I am the DM and I will kill my players. I will make sure that my players are beat. You know, unfortunately, there are DMs like that their whole purpose of running the game is just to win against their players, which is totally not the case. Totally should not be the case. Um, as a dungeon master, although you adjudicate a lot of the rules, you have a lot of control over the campaign. In terms of like how the campaign goes and the situations that your players will be getting in, that doesn't mean that you are playing against your players. You are a player as well, actually, on the table. It's just that you have a different role than the role of your players. The role of your players is to play their characters and role play their characters, only their characters. And you, as a dungeon master, your job is to run everything else. So, This is a collaborative game. This is not a DM versus player type of thing. Um, as a matter of fact, most, if not all, of tabletop role playing game systems out there, they are not really intently designed, and they're not designed good uh in terms of like what you call it, in terms of player versus player rule systems. A lot of like game systems out there does not really encourage player versus player gameplay. There might be some out there, but they're like far and few in between. Um, but in games like D&D, it's not really designed that well to work with a player character going against a player character. So that's why most of the time, it's a collaborative game. It's a collaborative storytelling. What if it is the harsh and dark setting, Rider? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter the theme. Doesn't matter the doesn't matter the motive and whatnot. You as a dungeon master, it's not your job to beat your players. It's your job to be a fan of your players. It's your job to make your players have as much fun as possible with the sessions. Um, bringing them challenges is just for you to actually make the role playing game an actual game, because there will be no game if there's no challenge, right? So it's not your duty to actually win against your players. It's your duty to be with your players and play with them and create stories with them. What about that one player that makes the game unfun vehemently? What if they vehemently want to do something stupid? Uh, okay, it really depends on the situation and the context, you know. And that actually goes back to what we're saying here in this one. Address issues before, during, and after sessions. Um, uh, One player making the game unfun is already an issue. So you, as a dungeon master, your job is to address that, either by talking to the player, letting them know that, um, letting them know what's going on, and making solutions for them, making compromises and making solutions. This is going back to addressing issues as a dungeon master. What if they vehemently wanted to do something stupid? Could you give me more context on this one? Because it really depends on the context. Like, you have to run from this fight, but they have to stay in the fight. Level 5 versus Elder Wendigo. Um, it all goes down to roleplay. Like, your character wanted to run, but the rest of your group wanted to fight. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're talking about? Just give me a little bit more clarity on this, because I don't see a problem here. Actually, honestly, I don't see any problems with that situation that you're giving, because that's where role play comes in. My idea is just some fights are just unwinnable. Yeah, that's true. But what I'm saying is that particular situation that you just gave as an example, um, that is something that can be solved through role play. If let's say that your character knows that you cannot beat this monster, but the rest of your group thinks they can beat it, you have to address that in roleplay. That is not that is something that is a non-issue really until it is an issue out of the table. If that actually can turn into an issue out of table or out of the session, and that's where you as a DM would step in and address the issue, because by that point it will become an issue if it reaches out of the table or out of the session. How about they wants to steal something from a royal entourage and one of them kidnapped the princess? Again, that's where the roleplay comes in. Let's see what will happen in roleplay. That is something that you address in roleplay. Again, it is a non-issue until it does. It is a non-issue until it is. And we'll get back to the top. We'll get back to the main topic at hand, which is just enumerating um, what you actually do as a dungeon master, right? So basically, you can do it but suffer the consequences. Exactly, exactly. You do have the option to let your players know right ahead of the risks that would be involved by doing it, but that doesn't mean you would stop them from doing it. Because again, it's not an issue until it's in an issue. The examples that you were giving aren't really technically issues. They are situations. They are situations. Now, if you and your party, the rest of your party, are starting to bicker and argue over the table because of the situation, because you wanted to get out and the rest of your party wanted to do this other thing, and you started to argue over it out of character, that's very important, out of character, not in character, out of character, that's when it becomes an issue. And that is where you, the DM, needs to step in, needs to have both parties chill the fuck out and and resolve it, or to keep the game moving. All right. And also going back to your statement, and what if they vehemently wanted to do something stupid? Something stupid is very very broad. It's a broad term what you're saying, because more often than not, if you are the DM, your players would do something stupid. It's just a matter of what you actually consider stupid. Because for me, it's not stupid. It's roleplay. It's roleplay. Because again, the moment that there's an argument that will happen out of character, the moment that that happens, that is where issue starts. That is where you address the issue, because there is already that an issue by that time. So I hope I was able to explain my point clearly, because I'm not really sure if I understood what you're asking. It's future me's problem. The bard says as they have to fight the unchained Archaeon. 2 minutes later. Wait, Archaeon? So are we talking about our session? Are we talking about our campaign before? Archaeon is also a character in my setting. Oh, okay, okay, I see. Future Me's problem. The Bard says as they have to fight an Archie and Archaeon. Oh, okay. So in terms of like, I'll deal with it when I deal with it, kind of thing. Again, again, you have to also recognize. You also have to recognize when it is an issue and when it is roleplay. You also have to recognize that. You have to be, as a dungeon master, you have to have like the 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 insight and the wisdom to recognize what is an issue and what is a roleplay situation. And the easiest way to do that is if your players are starting to argue over the table out of character without role playing their characters, that's an issue already. All right? Again, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I'm not sure if I'm able to answer your question because I'm not sure if I understood your question correctly. So I hope I was able to answer your question correctly. But anyway, going back, let's move on. So anyway, going back to this, play with your players and not against them. I think this is actually should be number one. I think this should be like very, very, very important. Um, because I have seen a lot of situations and a lot of DMs that literally playing against against their players, and that is just so sad to see because that is not the whole point of being the dungeon master. Because if you were to do that, you'll be easily winning as a dungeon master or a game master. You'll easily win over your players. You'll easily win against your players because you pretty much control everything else. You pretty much control everything as a dungeon master. And I think that is also should be like that is something that some DMs should realize that you're controlling a lot of stuff being the dungeon master. You have been given total control over a lot of stuff. And the last thing that you want to happen is your players leaving your table because you think you're God. So, uh, you have control a lot of stuff that you can literally easily snap your player character's existences gone. And the scary thing is you'll be able to justify it because you are again the dungeon master. You control a lot of things. But the last thing that you wanted to happen is for your players to leave the table because they realize you're no fun playing with because you just one up everyone and that's it. And you have all of the advantage, and all the edges because you control everything. So when you are dungeon mastering, I'll always remember that you are playing with your players and not against them. You are there to provide fun things for them, basically, for them to play around. Imagine tabletop Archeon, but not limited to PC constraints. So basically, like a creature, just literally a straight up monster. So actually, this should be the last one, I think. Lastly, provide fun. Your fun should be your players' fun. Should come from your players having fun. Monster is an understatement. So this is the last one, or at least this is the last one that I can think of. Is one of the things that I also think it's most important when being a dungeon master and what you actually do is to provide fun. Basically, your fun should come from the fact that your players are having fun. Basically, so that's why you're doing all of these things. All of these facilitating, making sure that everything that that your player needs are met. Describe the scenes, immerse your players, answer questions, making sure you're not against your players but being a fan of them. Is to provide cool stuff for their characters to make them more powerful and more heroic. Put them in their situations that are challenging and worthwhile to play. Provide them like have them interact with NPCs that are funny, compelling, and deep, uh, and immersive. All of these are because you wanted to provide fun for your players, being a dungeon master, and your main currency of fun. And I know there's a lot of dungeon masters out there that are, for the longest time, continuously um, complaining about being a forever DM that they will never be able to play as a player for the rest of their lives by taking on the dungeon master role, which is kind of true. It is kind of true. Um, so that's why. Uh, but your fun as a DM is should be coming from the that feeling that your players are actually having fun in your table, right? Because all you do is facilitate everything basically for your players to have fun and be adventurous that like they are. And the fact that your players are having fun should be something that you're happy as well. That should be your happiness. With uh, the fact that your players are happy playing the game, they're feeling heroic. They're feeling this grand adventure that you provided for them is fun. Should be also your happiness. Should be your accomplishment. It should be the thing that you strive for as being the dungeon master. So all of these that you are doing should be for the fun of your players, making sure that they are happy playing tabletop role playing game adventures, right? So okay, that is actually it. I think that's all the things that I can think of in the meantime. Uh, but anyway, if you have like anything that you can add, uh, okay, it says here, what about magic items? I prefer to give them their magic main item or 500 gold. For the second one, I have the system like my high point one in my high point one. Um, what are you asking me specifically though? What question are you asking me specifically about that one? How I give magic items? Is that what you're asking? I'm sorry if I'm not understanding your question. But anyway, if you have like anything that you can add here to what we listed and the things that the Dungeon Master does, you can go ahead and have some inputs. Basically, an academy store that sells you equipment exactly at their level, but it shuffles. Sorry, I'm sorry. I would have to ask again. What is your question that you wanted me to answer? If you're asking me any questions, that is. Because I feel you're asking me a question. What about magic? What about it? The question is, okay, go ahead. And again, I really do apologize if I'm having a hard time understanding your question or if I give you a wrong answer because I misunderstood your question. It's not me, it's you. I'm sorry. It's not you. It's me. Sorry. it's it, it's not you. It's me. So sorry about that. Don't. Oh God. I am actually a little bit sleepy. I'm actually a little bit sleepy. So again, I apologize. So go ahead. What's your question? Please go ahead. What is your question? The question is, aren't some rare magic items OP and some very rares mediocre? Yeah, but the thing is, rarity. At least in Dungeons and Dragons, rarity doesn't mean it's powerful. It's just rare because a few people made the thing, or a few people are doing are making the particular item. Rarity doesn't really mean level of power in Dungeons and Dragons, at least, or that's how I interpret it in my games as well. At least, is rare items doesn't mean they're powerful. Maybe it's very rare because it didn't catch on. Probably. There's a lot of factors. There's a lot of factors why something could be rare. Maybe it's out of production. Maybe it didn't catch on, so that's why they stopped producing it. Maybe it was meant to be rare because it was meant to be only made um in a few batches or few pieces as a collectible, or you know it has there's a lot of factors on making something rare in general. Maybe the methods make it yeah, well, yeah, whatever to make it rare. I'm just saying that there's a lot of circumstances on making something rare, and in tabletop role playing games like D&D, a rarity of a magical item doesn't mean it is powerful. Or maybe that's if maybe if it is even the case, it doesn't item being rare doesn't mean it's powerful. There's a lot of factors that makes an object rare, even in the real world. It's actually especially in the real world. So anyway, I hope that I was able to answer your question. Second question is, can you give me a recommendation on some good beginner magic items for a party of level 3 to 4? Hmm. I cannot provide you specific magical items because again, I'm dumb. I don't have the whole book with me in memory. But I would say that at least uncommon items from the item list from the D&D books, at least common to uncommon, are good. As as long as they're common or uncommon, they can be good for a level 3 or 4. At least that's how I will do it. As long as it's uncommon or common, it's good for a level 3 or 4 party. Now, what I do, if you wanted to, you know, if you wanted to know which items you would be using, now if you wanted like what specific items would you like to place on your store or whatever store that is. You can either pick from the list or do what I do, just roll it on a random table. Just make a table and roll for it, and have the item be included in the store. It's as simple as that. But as I said earlier, meant if you meant to actually have a party of level 3 to 4 uh, use it, I would go with the uncommon to common. I would go with the uncommon to common, um, what you call it, items list. Boots of Breathing, whatever. If it is, as long as it's uncommon or common, whatever it is. Again, I cannot provide you a specific item because I am dumb and I don't know I don't know the item list in my head. I can look it up for you, but it will take a while. So I cannot provide you like super specific items because I am not that experienced and I don't have the items list in my head. What I can at least tell you is go for uncommon or common items in the items list. And if you're still confused, just roll for it. Just roll through that list. Just make a D20 roll or something, or D100. And whoever lands, just use it. And that's actually makes it more exciting because even you as a DM don't know what items they will get from that list, you know? It will also surprise you as a DM. And it also will like cuts off your time when it comes to like thinking what is the best item for this best store. Also, how do you make fun? How do you make fun or interesting NPCs? How do I make fun or interesting NPCs? You see, first off, fun and interesting NPCs doesn't rely on me. It relies on the players. It a, a fun or interesting NPC depends if the players have if the players find an fun and interesting NPC. You know what I mean? What I mean is it doesn't it doesn't it's not me. It's not for me to decide if an NPC is fun or interesting. What I can at least do as a dungeon master is to create a realistic NPC. Whether they're fun or interesting, it's up to the players. But if you're talking about okay, so to answer your question though, just to answer your question, if uh, whenever I'm making NPCs, I make them as believable as possible. What I mean by believable as possible, every person have wants, every person have an appearance or a description, and every person has a secret. When you're creating an NPC, you don't only put in their name, you don't only put them their race or their class or whatever or their job or whatever. Um, One of the most important things that you can do is to make an NPC that have wants. What do they want out of anything? Or what do they want in the current situation, that is? Or actually, what do they want over anything? Because that would also inform on how they make decisions and how they interact with their players. What do they want more than anything else? Now, their appearance is when I say appearance, it's not only their race or their gender or what they look like. It's appearance of what their demeanor is, what their demeanor, their decorum and whatnot, and also what is unique about their appearance that makes them stand out or makes them quite different from all of the rest of the NPCs that uh, the, uh, the players encountered. So that's in terms of appearance to make them make players remember them, just in case they need to like jot them down in a piece of paper, or jot them down in their notes because they think they'll be encountering this NPC later. You know, give them like a something that can describe them, that is unique to them. Now, for secrets, this is the fun part, because this is where you can be like a little bit sneaky. Secrets is basically make your character have a secret that only they know, not in terms of like who is the villain and whatnot, blah blah blah. In terms of like just a secret that they're hiding, either them for themselves or for the others to not know. And it doesn't have to be like evil or heinous or criminal or illegal. It doesn't have to be like that. It's just something that they're just keeping for themselves. Like for example, like an NPC that has a crush on someone, and they don't want to that their crush to know about it. Or it's an NPC that is hiding something like an object, or something else, or a creature in their closet. Or maybe someone that doesn't want to know that they're actually this, that despite their macho appearance, they're actually scared of rats and would jump and scream like a little girl when they see a rat, or something like that. Anything that can make the interesting an NPC interesting is if they have secrets that they're hiding, that the player could find out, or maybe not. Or maybe a secret that has something to do with the campaign, or the quest at hand, or something, some information that will help the players progress through the campaign, or whatnot, or discover hidden truths about the quest that they're currently on, something like that. Now, whether they're fun or interesting, it's up to your players for them to decide. It's for them to decide if your NPCs are fun or interesting. What I just told you is something that how you would basically create an NPC that is realistic and believable. Okay, so that's it. If you don't have any questions, we'll just end it here. Our discussion. Um, so I'm just gonna do some closing here, because this will be a YouTube video for you to watch, and the previous one that we have, I am editing it right now, and hopefully I'll be able to release that on my main channel, my main YouTube channel. So I'm gonna be doing closing. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. So yeah, that's everything that we talked about dungeon mastering. If you like what you see, you can go ahead and push the follow button on my Twitch. If you wanted to see my streams, you can also subscribe and hit the bell button if you want to be uh, informed or notified whenever I upload videos. I also do have a VOD channel where you can see my previous streams if you have missed it, that you cannot see on Twitch. And also, speaking of Twitch, I do have a Twitch, that twitch.tv/RyuShinden. I stream whenever I wanted to stream, because I am a lazy person. So come on by and come on by the Brave Base. You are very free to come on by the Brave Base. And again, this is RyuShinden, your armored VTuber, signing off. And as always, brave on. Hey, we're done. We're done. We're fucking done. We are fucking done. We are done. Okay. Let's go back. Booga booga booga. Dixon noise. So anyway, as I mentioned earlier, this will be a super short stream. I'm gonna need to go. I was actually about I was meant to stream earlier actually, because but some things I needed to do first. So that's why I'm kind of late. And unfortunately, I would have to end the stream right here. So again, thank you so much for those of you who dropped by. For those of you who chatted, gave a follow. Uh, or even pass by, that's perfectly fine for me. And for next stream, I'm gonna try doing it tomorrow. Try is a big word. Gonna try to do it tomorrow. Maybe I'll play some games that use my new fixed controller, or maybe we can do some games. Maybe I don't know, static. I don't know, some SMC would be good. Perhaps tomorrow. Maybe same time. Maybe we can do some SMC with the boys. Static, if you're still there. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see what we can do. We'll see what will happen. Whatever happens, happens. But yeah, I'll just hit you up if I feel like playing some SMC with the boys. Tomorrow, I'm not really sure, but I will try. I'll just post my any tweets on my Twitter if I'm gonna be streaming. So just follow my Twitter, okay? All right. That's something that I forgot earlier to say, but anyway, whatever the fuck that is. I'll just re-record it. But anyway, again, thank you so much for watching the stream, chilling out with me, discussing some nerdy shit with me, and who we're gonna raid? We're gonna raid someone. I think we're gonna raid someone. Just give me one moment. Let me see if I got her name right. We're gonna raid Tiefling Melissa, and I believe she is talking about Dungeons and Dragons, particularly flying races. So we're gonna raid her. So just stay tuned. We're gonna raid her. So again, thank you so much for staying with me. And again, this is Ryu Shinden, and I'm gonna be signing off. And as always, rave on. Raid Tiefling Melissa for me, okay? Alright, bye bye, bye bye, bye bye, bye bye.